Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Be Mindful podcast. We are here with our special guest, Mr. Yohance Ayodike. Yohance Ayodike.
Yes.
Would you like to tell us who you are, what you do? I know you're a behavior change consultant. So just tell us a bit about what you do and how it kind of connects to mental health.
Hi, Ashay. Thank you for having me. My full name is Yohance Ayodike, and I'm the owner of IODK Consultancy. I'm a behavior change consultant. Basically, what a behavior change consultant is someone who helps you move from one aspect of yourself to another. So it's not necessarily you have to have problems or something is wrong with you. You can be a 10 out of an 8 out of 10, and we can help you be a 9 out of 10. So we help individuals, couples, families, organizations, groups improve their behavior in whatever way they see fit.
Nice. That's so cool. That's really interesting. I like that you said that it doesn't have to necessarily, because when we think of improvement, especially when it comes to mental health, I think sometimes we think from a 0 or 1 to 10, like it's just this intense thing. But sometimes, like you said, you can be an 8, and just going to 9 does make such a drastic impact in everything that you do, really. So I love that you said that. So how would you define mental health for us if we don't know what it is? How would you define mental health?
A simple way to define mental health is the quality by which we think, feel, and act. Human behavior is encompassed in how we think and how we feel and how we act. So the quality based, let's say it's out of 10. How well you think, feel, act, let's say out of 10. And I would also add the quality by which you think, feel, act based on your current life situation. Because how you think, feel, act at age 10 may have worked for you, but at age 15 it may not. At age 15 it may have worked, and age 20, etc.
Nice. So would you say, because if it's how we think, feel, and act, right? Why do some of us maybe cope better than others and things like that? Would you just say it comes down to just surroundings? I know for me, with my experience with all these podcasts, I've spoken to a lot of experts in this area. So I'm hearing it's a lot of different components. It's never one size fits all. But do you think how would you kind of clarify those guidelines? How would you answer that question, basically?
I would say how well you thrive in your environment is a good indicator to know the level of your mental health. Because if you are not surviving, or you're having difficulty it could be work, it could be at home, it could be in a relationship. If you're not coping well, then it's possible that your mental health may be in question. And it's not necessarily comes down to biology alone, because there's still a debate between nature versus nurture. And I don't think, even if there's a conclusion, it's always good for the person to analyze first in terms of, are they happy? Are they satisfied? Are they getting what they want from the environment? And then when they question this based on the answer, they would know how to adjust.
Right. Okay. Interesting. First thing I thought of when you said that is I always stress the importance of holistic development for children, for young people. And when you said, it's just kind of having to that eye for detail to how this person is interacting in this environment and how they're kind of coping with this versus the other child. With our school systems, we have a lot of time, it's one size fits all. It's always the same class, the same curriculum, the same, time breaks and things like that. So how do you think, I know this is a very random question, but how do you think we as a society or overall can really foster an environment to kind of keep this more in the forefront of our mind, knowing that, mental health as something so big as it is and so diverse and so unique for each person? How can we kind of keep this in mind to maybe foster better environments for younger people? How do you think so?
See things as they are, not how we think they should be. So as children, sometimes we want our children to be exactly how we think they should be, versus observing them to see who they are, or putting them in various environments to see how they interact with them. And then when we actually see who they are, which is the truth of them, then we could decide how to help them thrive, how to help them become better.
Right. That's a good answer. So I'm genuinely like intrigued by everything you're saying. I'm literally just taking it all in. I think it's a great topic to really speak about mental health, because when even introducing this project to myself and getting involved, it's you have an idea, kind of preconceived notion of what direction it would go. But the more I speak to people like yourself, I really see how it just plays different roles in different groups of people and different just it's interesting to see how integrated it really is. There's no life, I would say, no human existence without mental health. And I think it's just very cool to see that kind of interconnectivity. But how would you say the difference is, what I've realized a lot of the time, there's an issue with young men speaking up as, not as often as young women. And what do you think it comes down to? Do you think it's about processing of emotions and identifying emotions, or do you think it's something bigger on a societal scale for that reason? What are your thoughts on that?
This is an interesting question, because in research, there's always a question of whether a male brain or male biology is different from a female's biology. And doing research, some people say yes, some people say no. So I would go with an individual's experience. If as a man or a male, you are not happy, if you are not satisfied, it's good to do some self-analysis to see why you are not happy, right? And then when you figure this out based on the analysis, so now the analysis could be where I come from, my family, my religious beliefs, my values, society, etc. Then when you come up with these answers, then you'll be able to combat it from an informed place, instead of just thinking, well, it has to be the society, it has to be the culture, it has to be, because we've seen young men come from the same district, the same culture, but have different outcomes. So I'm saying to take it on an individual basis, because sometimes we just kind of blanket, well, men do this or boys do this, etc.
Okay, that's interesting. So what I've realized, so with you saying that, I completely agree with that. But one thing I've noticed as well for my project, Invisible Scars Project, we're focusing on mental health, as you know, destigmatizing it. And I found we are getting a lot of young men involved, but less than the young women, right? So how do we kind of, again, we're not generalizing because there are young boys coming forward and being involved, but just based on also data that we're seeing with just people even expressing with depression, anxiety, things like this, coming out and saying and identifying these things, it's less likely for men to do so. But how do we get them to acknowledge that? Because I always say the hardest thing with mental health is you can't help someone fix themselves. You can't help someone be acknowledged. You can, but it's still at the end of the day their responsibility to now say, okay, I am feeling this way. I am maybe not feeling the best way that I can. I want to speak up, so now I will speak up. I've had situations with close male friends of mine who I know they're going through things, but they will acknowledge it, but they won't get the help for it. So how do we kind of bridge that actual acknowledgement and the action? Do you think it comes from, for example, with myself in my situation with my friend, do I go out my way to push them in that direction, or is it down to this has to be this person's choice?
Interesting question. Firstly, I would say, let's go back to what I said about the children, about seeing things as they are, not how we want them to be. Every man wants assistance in a different way. I could say every individual, but because we're concentrating on men, right? So each man, so your friend would want help in a specific way. Observing him and understanding him, and the more you know him, I mean, he's your friend, the more you know him or any male, you'd be able to then offer the appropriate assistance, even if it's a soft approach or eventual approach. So let's just say he loves to go to the movies.
Right.
Right? So you have him at the movies, a place where he's comfortable. And where he's comfortable, he'd be more inclined to share. If he loves the beach, nature, etc. So creating a comfortable environment, especially for males, allows them to speak. So when I'm dealing with men and boys, and I say especially adolescents, boys, let's say between 12 and let's go all the way to 18, sometimes asking them questions, so they don't want to speak to sir, so I don't want to deal with that, so I don't want to XYZ. But if I take them out in nature, play some football with them, eventually after the football game, they may sit, sir, XYZ, or in nature, we walking through the bush, the grass, hiking, etc. They would start to speak. So finding out what are the conditions to make that male comfortable so that he feel comfortable enough to share.
Okay, that's nice. So basically what you're saying is it's about creating that safe space, having that safe space, and whatever, it's not one size fits all, as we say. It's just for that person, tailored to that person, and knowing that they are feeling comfortable. And I guess it comes with reading their energy too in those moments, because I could tell when my young friend, male friend, who he is, I could tell when he's more closed up versus when he's about to speak about something, so it's just about kind of keeping an eye and measuring and being aware, I guess. Yeah, would you say?
Yeah. Yes.
So how would you say, what are the effects of lying to yourself? What are the effects of suppressing emotions and not acknowledging these things and not taking those steps forward in that direction?
There's an old saying, the truth will set you free.
Yes.
So if we are lying to ourselves, we are not freeing ourselves to be who we are. And if we are not being who we are, then we would cause tension. So imagine we have our individual selves inside of us and we're lying. So we're trapping it inside, we're suppressing it. Eventually, it will explode. Eventually, it may even implode. So being honest about who you are. Now, I'm not saying that you are perfect. So don't expect because you're expressing who you are, it will end up in a perfect scenario. But it will be perfect for you because you are expressing who you are. And in my experience, coaching, counseling, even doing general group activities with men, the general consensus is many men lie to themselves, and therefore they are lying to themselves, they lie to others. Now, it may not be malicious lies. It may be something simple as, I'm not feeling good today. I am sad right now. And instead of expressing the truth of that, you say, well, I'm good. I'm okay. No, there's no problem. So therefore, it stays inside and eventually starts to implode and degrade their mental health.
Right. So why, for example, so when I hear that, the first things I think of Robin Williams, who was such a funny man. We knew him as being so joyous and full of life and love, and was suffering behind the scenes where we didn't see that. And as recent as we had the news with Ellen DeGeneres's DJ Twitch, I'm not sure if yes, the passing of him. And again, the automatic responses, well, they seemed so happy, they seemed so they seem so, as you can't judge from the surface. But again, it brings me back to that question, is it back to that societal expectation? And I say that word societal, not blaming society, but just as a result of the society that we live in. Is it that expectation of them having to be hardened up and strong and be a man and don't show emotion or don't cry? What do you think is the leading force for this lack of opening up and acknowledgement of these emotions that men are feeling? What do you really think that it comes down to? I know it's a lot of different things, but in your area of expertise, I really am curious to know kind of why.
Instead of giving it the blanket of wider societal factors, I would say for each man's perceived societal factors. Right? Many men, and this is my experience, and I'll even use personal experience, we want everyone around us to feel okay. Whether it is a taught provider, protector, whether it's innate, we want everything to be okay, everything around us to be okay. So we would be willing, and again, I'm not speaking for every man, but every man I've encountered and listened to, and even myself, we would be willing to put ourselves to detriment to ensure everything's around us is okay. So let's use Robin Williams. He is a brilliant entertainer, a funny guy, bring joy to everyone. So, and his joy, or at least part of his joy, would be seeing everyone around him happy. But that doesn't mean it's given him fulfillment. And whatever he may have needed, or any man may need, sometimes we sacrifice it for the perception of having everyone around us happy. Now, of course, we see the negative effects of it, but I would say it's our perceived thought or perception of what we think should happen.
Interesting. And then what would you recommend for coping mechanisms then, for men specifically, or for people in general? What are coping mechanisms to avoid that end result, as we just spoke about?
This is simple, but sometimes it takes effort to execute. Be yourself. That's the coping mechanism. Understand all the things, whether it is small, medium, or large, trivial or serious. Understand the things that bring you joy. It doesn't have to bring you 100 degrees of joy immediately, but even if there's something that brings you 5% of joy, do that, pursue that. So you know what you like to eat, you know when you like to eat it, you know what activities you like to do per day, you know the type of people you like to be around, you know the type of TV shows, etc. Now, you may not be able to achieve everything immediately,
right,
but putting effort towards it is a good coping mechanism to stress. So if you like to go to the beach, ensure and put things in place to go to the beach, even if you spend 10 minutes there. If you like a certain type of music, listen to that music when need be. If you know you need to take some time to yourself, I'll give you an example. Once when I was working in this job, it was very stressful for me,
right,
and taking time to myself always helped me, but there was no readily available space. So I used to go to the men's room and just sit there for 10 minutes, 5 minutes. And that gave me the peace to be able to go and work 3 hours again or 4 hours again. It may sound simple, but each individual knows. So whether you are male or female, you know what you need to bring you joy.
I like that. I like the fact that you said just something as simple as going to the restroom for 10 minutes can make a difference, because I've seen real things in my life where I just needed to just sit. Something as simple as just walking outside, just sitting in the park and just don't talk to anyone, just breathe, and just having that moment of breath and connection has centered me so much. So I like the fact that not all the answers are always, well, we change society, we change this, we change the way that which we all have to do, yes, but sometimes the way that we can start is just simply, you know. So
Yes.
I like that you said that. So thank you so much. I'm so happy that you came on. I'm so happy. I have to give you a genuine big thank you for speaking up about these topics, especially as a man yourself. I think it's important that we prioritize mental health and have these conversations, especially for young boys watching this. I'm sure there's going to be at least one young boy who watches this and said, well, he's so open about it, so I can be too. So I genuinely want to thank you for that. Would you like to leave us on any notes, anything that you would like to say to the audience? Please say now, and we are all ears.
Be true to yourself. That is the best way to improve and even maintain your mental health, because when you hide who you are not being who you are, and therefore you can become unhealthy. Don't make life complicated, because even though life is not easy, it's really not that hard. And thank you for listening.
Thank you guys for listening. Thank you so much, Yohance Ayodike, for coming on. I really, truly appreciate it. And guys, tune in to the next episode of the Be Mindful podcast, where we will see you soon. Bye.
Thank you, Ashi, and thank you, everyone.